The voters of the beach cities welcomes you to tonight's meeting. We are fortunate to have as our guest the 33rd Congressional District Representative Ted Lieu. Thank you. Applause is nice, but it gets mingled in sometimes. Thank you to the City of Hermosa Beach for providing this facility. The League of Women Voters is where hands-on work to safeguard democracy leads to civic improvement. We encourage you to join the League of Women Voters and be directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong, safe, and vibrant. The League was organized in 1920 when women first gained the right to vote. The purpose then, like today, is to promote active, informed citizen participation at all levels of government through education and advocacy. The League is a grassroots organization. All persons 16 years or older are welcome. We do not support or oppose any candidate or any political party. The League has two separate roles: citizen education and advocacy. We are here tonight as part of citizen education. Since tonight's program is designed to be informative, we've provided yellow pieces of paper, my script says cards, for your questions and comments. We ask that the audience please be respectful of the speaker.
Thank you. Please give a hand to Barbara Harlow. Barbara is the president of the Beach Cities League of Women Voters, and she's been a long-time member, and she makes sure that all of the rest of us behave. Just say. So now you're within her sphere, and she'll be expecting you to be a good audience. I'm Diane Wallace, and I'm the program chair for the League of Women Voters, and I would like to begin this evening by simply, first of all, thanking all of you who came, who either RSVP'd or signed in tonight. Thank you. You were also organized and got everybody signed in fairly quickly. I would like to ask the following individuals who are elected officials in our area to please stand. Mary Campbell, Jeff Duclos, Annie Van Gary, and David Lesser. David's back there. And Justin Massey. Please give them a hand. They dedicate a lot of their personal time to make sure that our communities are safe and sound and attractive and well-running, and we appreciate their efforts. So I would just like to point out on the program that we actually have two individuals this evening. We have Congressman Ted Lieu, who will begin the program, and I have good news. We have two student members of the Beach Cities League of Women Voters, one from Lusinger High School and one from Miracosta. Our student from Miracosta is listed on the program because one of her priorities in joining the League was to focus on immigration. So she's able to get out of work a little bit early this evening, and so she will be joining us around 8 o'clock. And I wanted to make sure that the congressman knew that. Maybe we could pause the questions a little bit and so you could meet one of our high school students that's interested in issues affecting our entire country and certainly our community. So it's my pleasure to introduce our congressman. He has represented our area for many years, first in the state assembly, and then in the state senate, and now in Congress. And I don't think he needs any more introduction because I'm hoping all of you have met him before. We are very grateful that he serves the 33rd Congressional District in Washington, D.C., and here is Congressman Ted Lieu.
Good evening. I am so excited to be here, and first of all, I want to thank Barbara for your leadership and Diane for inviting me, and then your local elected officials. Hermosa Beach is a fantastic city. I always love coming here. Manhattan Beach is great. Redondo Beach is great. The beach cities is really one of the crown jewels of Southern California. So thank you for being here tonight, and happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm going to sort of give you an update about Capitol Hill, some of the issues that Diane mentioned, and then look forward to having a dialogue tonight. One of the things that Diane wanted me to talk about is immigration, so I will get to that by sort of explaining to you my story.
Build the wall.
And my story is the same as yours, or your parents, or your grandparents. I am an immigrant. And my parents, as some of you may know, when they looked at a map of America, they said, we're going to Cleveland. That's where I grew up. We were poor. They did not speak English well. They went to flea markets and sold gifts and jewelry to make ends meet. Eventually, through many years, they opened one store in a shopping center, and then one gift and jewelry store in a shopping mall. My life growing up as a kid was helping to operate the cash register and moving boxes and selling gifts and jewelry, because I was free labor. My parents didn't have to pay me or my brother. Eventually, they expanded over 6 stores and shopping malls. And in my mind, they achieved the American dream. They went from being poor to a home.
Yes.
Gave my brother and I an amazing education. He's a doctor now, by the way. My parents still remind me of that.
I think he got the better choice.
U.S. Air Force and active duty. I believe I can never give back to America. Everything this amazing country has given to me. It's one reason I choose to remain in the reserves. One reason I'm in politics. Make sure that this dream remains open for people who want to come here, work hard, and succeed.
No, you don't.
So I was at the State of the Union, and I listened to the president's speech,
It was great.
on immigration.
It was great.
He mentioned 4 pillars. I think we can get agreement on 2 of them. So the president talked about a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, undocumented youth, 1.8 million. That's good. I support that. We get bipartisan support on that issue. By the way, there's a DREAM Act. I'm a co-author of it. If that bill were to be put on the floor of the House, it would pass with bipartisan support.
No
if
way.
it were to then go to the Senate, it would pass with bipartisan support. The president could sign it.
Oh.
Be simple, we would be done. But the president wants to add a 2nd pillar, which I could support, which is border security. We are a sovereign nation. I could support investing more money in border security. I personally think a wall is stupid. It's not just me saying that, it's also Republican members of Congress.
Do you have a wall
in
around your
states who
house?
realize it's one of the most inefficient ways of border security. But if that's what the president really wants,
Respect your opinion.
in exchange for a pathway to citizenship for 1.8 million dreamers and undocumented youth, I could support that. The real problem comes when he added 2 additional pillars that were nowhere near the original agreement that he had a few months ago. One of them is he would essentially eliminate family reunification. He chose to use, to me, the more offensive term, chain migration. So let me just explain this to you. In America, right, we believe in family. Family includes your mom and your dad and your brother and your sister and children. What Donald Trump is proposing to do is to ban mothers and fathers, brothers, sisters, and adult children from immigrating here. That is a radical proposal. It's not something America has done. It is un-American, it is divisive, it is anti-family. It'd be hard to get that 3rd pillar through, because I'm not even sure there would be enough Republicans to vote that out. But keep in mind, he's also now talking about legal immigration. Right now in the current law, because America believes in families, whether you're from Italy or South Korea or South Africa or Norway, we want mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and children to come, because we don't want isolated individuals with no support system hanging around in the U.S. We want families here. Families make everything much more stable. It actually makes America stronger.
But he's already proposed that. He's already proposing that.
The fourth pillar he talks about is the diversity visa lottery.
That's gotta go.
And this is the issue he was talking about when he made that vulgar remark referring to certain countries with the S word.
No, he didn't.
Again, this is talking about legal immigration. And what he wants to do is to either eliminate it, which I think would be massively problematic, or there's some talk that he wants to put in some merit-based standards. So I could support merit-based standards if they would allow his grandfather to have come into the United States. So let's talk about Donald Trump's grandfather. Donald Trump's grandfather was poor, didn't speak English very well, came to the United States, was a barber for many years. And because of America and the amazing country we are, we now have Donald Trump as president. So if we have a merit-based system, if we're a merit-based system that would allow someone like Donald Trump's grandfather to come to the United States,
absolutely,
I could support that.
Yes.
So the details are sort of out on that. So that's where we are on immigration, and we'll see. I'm happy to answer any questions on it, but those are sort of the contours of the debate. I think there's a deal to be had. If it was about dreamers and border security, I think that makes a lot of sense to people. It's just when you start adding in restrictions to legal immigration, makes it very hard to then get anything done. So that's on immigration. I'm now going to talk about that Russia thing. You may have seen the news today about this thing as the Nunez memo. Like, what is that? Okay,
Oh, Nunez.
So I have read the classified Nunez memo. I've also read the classified Democratic memo in response. What the Nunez memo is,
I'm allowed to comment now. You're interrupting me.
likely going to be released tomorrow. What the Nunez memo is going to essentially sort of show, I think, is nothing. Because I'm going to quote Speaker Ryan's words today, right? Speaker Ryan said the Nunez memo is not an indictment of Robert Mueller or of the Justice Department or of the FBI or of the Russia probe. Great. I agree with Speaker Ryan. But then why are you releasing this memo? Like, what is the point of it? So to me, the point of it is try to smear the FBI. So if you're going to do that, at least be accurate. The Nunez memo was not accurate. And I will quote the FBI. They made a pretty amazing statement, right? This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation issuing a statement basically against the White House. And they said they oppose release of this memo because it has material omissions of fact that paint a false narrative and makes inaccurate claims. So what the Democratic memo does is we put in all those material omissions of fact. And having read both of these memos, I can tell you, if I was a Republican, I would not want both memos out there. I would have not wanted any memos out there.
Bring both out.
Because what's now going to happen is once they release the Nunez memo, there'll be extreme pressure to release the Democratic memo. And boy, wait till you see those material omissions of fact that are omitted.
Bring it on.
And you know, my view is this is much ado about nothing because this is going to come out tomorrow, and all this hype about it, I think most Republicans are going to be underwhelmed when they read it. But there's going to be this pressure where all of us, all these Democrats will be going, release this Democratic memo. The other thing it's caused is it has now allowed every single member of the House of Representatives to read the Democratic memo. And I just have to say, wow, there were facts I did not know. And having read that memo, I'm like, I can't wait for this to come out. So you've got now the entire one branch of government, right? All of these House of Representative members now getting all this information that we would not have had other than for the stupidity of Devin Nunes writing this 4-page memo. So because of that, I actually think in the long run it hurts the Republicans, it will hurt Donald Trump. And it's very clear once these material omissions of fact come out to the American public will realize that this was a stunt designed to mislead the American people. Just like the stunt Devin Nunes pulled last year. So if you remember, why is Devin Nunes recused from the Russia investigation? Because if you recall, he made this big press conference where he said, I've got this super secret, really horrible, awful information, and I'm going to run to the White House tomorrow and brief them on it. Turns out later that we find out, the White House gave him the information for him to brief them back on it. Sure. And it was just a stunt. And because of that, Speaker Lyin made him recuse himself from the Russia probe. So now, this just reminds me, this is very similar. And in fact, one of the media publications reported when he was asked the question, did you coordinate with the White House on your memo? He wouldn't answer that. So it seems to me he's just sort of doing the same thing again. And once American people find that out, then he's going to have to recuse himself from his own recusal, be like recusal square, right? So that's where we are. The whole thing seems to me...
he's lying when his lips are moving.
Some folks will say, the president and the Republicans are playing this 12-dimensional chess.
Yep.
Having read both memos, no. They're not even playing checkers because...
Are you sure?
There's no way they're going to want this Democratic memo out there.
I disagree. Bring it out.
The omitted material facts that the Republican memo doesn't have. So it's just going to put this incredible pressure to get all sorts of facts out there now to the American public that lots of House of Representative members didn't know before that we now know. And I actually think ultimately it's going to reinforce your faith in a special counsel, your faith in the FBI, and your faith in the Republican. So, a little bit more about the Russia investigation. So this was just on sort of this little flap here in the Nunes memo. Taking a step back, what is this all about? So there's two elements of it. One is, was there conspiracy between Trump campaign officials and the Russians? Second, has there been obstruction of justice? So you may have seen recent articles where the special counsel is very interested now in the obstruction of justice issue. And you have seen before your own eyes the President of the United States take steps that meet all the elements of obstruction of justice. So as a former prosecutor, I'm just going to tell you about the statute. You can go look this up on the internet. It doesn't require you to actually obstruct justice. It just requires you to endeavor to influence a federal investigation with corrupt intent. That's it. So we know that the president in this case fired the FBI director. There was an action there. No one disputes it. We all know that happened. Yep. Then the president went on national TV and said the one thing his attorneys would never, ever have had him say, which is he basically did it because of the Russia investigation.
No, he didn't.
And then a week later, the New York Times publishes an article that the White House still does not contradict, where the president tells the Russian ambassador that he was feeling great pressure from this FBI investigation. He fired the FBI director. That pressure was relieved. So that meets all the elements of obstruction of justice. But there's more. The President of the United States also, before he fired FBI Director Comey, asked them to essentially drop the case against Michael Flynn.
Did they?
There's more than that. Articles also report that he has instituted a pressure campaign to try to get Andrew McCabe fired. He was a deputy FBI director, and he, at the end, successfully got him to basically retire. There's also more than that. We also know that the president aboard Air Force One was personally involved in writing a press statement designed to mislead the American people about what happened at a Trump Tower meeting last year, where his son, Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, met with Russian operatives. And the initial statement that came out said the meeting was about Russian adoption policy. That was a lie. They then had to issue a second statement. That second statement also didn't quite capture it, so they had to issue a third statement that finally admitted, yeah, it was actually, about the Hillary Clinton campaign. Yep. And now we have emails from Donald Trump Jr. that said, essentially, they were looking for dirt about the Hillary campaign. But the president was involved in this initial statement that was trying to cover up that meeting. So you have all of these elements, right, of things that are happening, and the special counsel is investigating them. And we already suspected that the special counsel was investigating obstruction of justice, but we finally had confirmation because a couple weeks ago, the New York Times reported that the special counsel called in Attorney General Jeff Sessions and asked him a series of questions, one of which was about the firing of the FBI director. And the Department of Justice spokesperson confirmed that. So now we have official confirmation special counsel is interested in these obstruction issues. And here's a fun fact.
These guys are nuts.
In Watergate, the very first article of impeachment was obstruction of justice. And keep in mind, Richard Nixon
What about Hillary?
was brought down not for the underlying crime of burglary of the DNC, but for the cover-up. And so, to me, this...
So what has he
has a lot
covered
of
up?
parallels. In terms of conspiracy,
What has he covered up?
we already know that George Papadopoulos pled guilty. And he pled guilty to lying to the FBI about what? About his contacts with Russia and trying to work with the Russians to try to influence the campaign in America. We also know that Michael Flynn pled guilty to a charge of perjury. We know Paul Manafort and Rick Gates have been indicted with a large number of counts. So we already have
But
2 guilty
Manafort's
pleas,
something else.
2 indictments. Special counsel has taken a series of actions. They're very good, I believe, in not leaking information. They can tell about the actions the special counsel has taken. So he's hired a lot of prosecutors. Why would you do that? To prosecute, right?
Smokescreen. Smokescreen.
Just this past November, he hired another prosecutor, one who was an expert in cyber crimes. So to me, this shows that this investigation is not ending anytime soon. And you may have seen yesterday's news. By the way, this is the only administration I know where you have breaking news being interrupted by breaking news. So yesterday's news was that Hope Hicks, who is in the White House, works for Donald Trump, was on a conference call where basically she was suggesting that they issue a misleading press statement because these emails of Donald Trump Jr.
Lie.
were never going to come out. That was essentially what the article was about.
He sent them out.
And that they have another person on the conference call, a former attorney in the White House who actually resigned, allegedly because he viewed that obstruction was happening, about to be interviewed by the special counsel. So it sort of tells you, oh, there's more interviews that are still happening. And then we also know that the special counsel asked for a 90-day delay in the sentencing of Michael Flynn. So that all tells you that this investigation is not wrapping up anytime soon. If anything, it's, to me, sort of getting bigger and capturing more targets. So that's where we are on the Russia thing. And then I'll conclude now on the one thing that could kill us all, and that would be North Korea. It is a problem. North Korea has nuclear weapons. They've now tested a number of missiles that appear could strike the US. Experts predict within a few years, they can take the nuclear weapons, miniaturize it, stick it on one of these missiles, make sure the warhead survives re-entry, and then explode it on the continent of the United States. So that is a problem. And that is something that administration after administration has tried to grapple with. The other problem we have is we have exactly 0 good military options against North Korea.
That's not true.
When I was on active duty, one of my bases was at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. We did a whole series of military exercises. Many of them were directed at North Korea. And it's very clear. One of the problems we have is we don't know how to contain escalation. So you may have read that the Trump administration is thinking of doing what they call this bloody nose strike. Like, let's just strike North Korea. Not a lot, just somewhat. Give them a bloody nose. My view is that's immensely stupid. So I'm going to tell you why. We don't know how North Korea, first of all, is going to react. This is a paranoid regime that believes the U.S. is going to attack them. This just feeds into that. And on the Foreign Affairs Committee last year, we had the highest ranking diplomatic defector from North Korea come in and testify. And he basically said they've got automated systems set up so that if people believe they're being attacked, wham, they launch, they go. We don't know what that means. Does it mean they launch nuclear weapons, they launch chemical weapons, they fire artillery? It's not clear because there's very little intelligence. But we don't know how to contain escalation because we don't know how North Korea is going to react. So that's a problem. Second problem is we don't know where all the nuclear weapons are. They hide these weapons. Our intelligence is very bad. So we don't even know how to destroy those weapons because we don't know where they are. So I wrote a letter to the Pentagon along with some other members of Congress, basically asking them about this. And the Pentagon came back with a letter confirming that yes, we would need a ground invasion to do that. So you're going to have a messy ground invasion to try to find these nuclear weapons and then destroy them or disable them or disarm them. And if you don't do that in the first few days, we are in a lot of trouble because they can explode them. And it's important to keep in mind that South Korea, not only do they have millions of South Koreans, at any given moment in time, there are over 200,000 Americans there. Not just military, but also American civilians. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people we're putting at risk. But let's take away the nuclear weapons. We also know that, according to various media reports, there's up to 5,000 tons of chemical weapons. When I was at Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, we would do these exercises where you have to put on these chemical weapon suits. So they're bulky, they're hot, it degrades your ability to move around, to do things. But I remember when I would put these things on, I would think, 98% of this island doesn't have these suits. So while I might be protected, most people around me are going to die. So that's what's going to happen in Seoul if they just decide to lob a bunch of chemical weapons at population centers. Maybe some of our military folks can put on chemical weapons suits in time,
But they haven't done
but
that
most
in
people
60
are
years.
going to be exposed to chemical weapons, and that's a huge problem. But let's just set that aside. Let's say they don't even do that. They have a massive amount of conventional weapons, artillery and tanks and mortars, all trained at Seoul, which is not that far away. They can essentially put about over 10 million people within range of their artillery. They could just start shelling population centers, and a lot of people are going to die. So those are sort of the risks that we're facing. My view is that we need to look at every single other option before we contemplate a dark, bloody, and uncertain path of war. So that includes diplomacy, it includes economic sanctions. I voted for the strongest economic sanctions ever on North Korea. That does take some time to take effect. I think we have to let that play out before we think about striking North Korea. And then let me conclude with this on North Korea. If you look at the Korean War that occurred last century, Russia did not support the US. They supported North Korea. China did not support the US. They supported North Korea. If either of those two countries, superpowers, decide to support North Korea, it's game over. We do not win that war. And keep in mind, China and North Korea are realistically the only two countries right now that could annihilate the United States. And so you have this problem here where, depending on how you strike North Korea, you wouldn't want a miscalculation, right? You wouldn't want China going, what are these missiles flying sort of near us? You wouldn't want Russia to miscalculate. So there is some potentially grave danger, not just with North Korea, but with its two neighbors, China and Russia. And I can guarantee you, if we initiate a military strike on North Korea, it's just not going to make it very easy for China or Russia to support us. It's likely going to have the opposite effect, and we may be pushing them to then side with North Korea, which would be a very bad situation. So that's what we're facing, and it is my hope that we have some rationality going into our North Korean policy. It is, to me, still unacceptable that the president has yet to nominate our ambassadors to South Korea. It's a very critical position. He's been in office for over a year, and the president has not put up a single name for that position. So that's where we are, and hopefully it'll get better. And on the Foreign Affairs Committee, I'm going to make sure that we continue to hold the administration's feet to the fire. With that, happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you. Yes.
Finally, we have questions.
I'll end on a happier note later. So, yeah.
You're quitting, right? You're retiring?
Oh, okay.
Have a minute to look at them because Samantha's here from Maricosta. And she's going to talk a little bit about what they're doing at Maricosta.
Oh, okay. I got it.
And there's a chair right there for you, which just magically appeared.
Look at that. All right, thank you.
So,